Hey guys, it's Keegan and Bowman back for another Disc Golf Examiner disc review. And today we have a special 3 discs that we're reviewing because we want to see the difference between the mid-ranges in the MVP lineup, right? Bowman, what do we got?
Yeah, exactly. Last year, as some of you guys may know, a lot of the mid-range molds went away when they switched to some new tooling machines. And that left us with a really great lineup here for the straight mid-ranges, straight to a little bit stable in the Matrix, the Vector, and the newest one, the Reactor. We've got the Matrix and the Vector in Electron plastic and Neutron plastic for the Reactor, which usually gives, in my opinion, a little more stability and maybe a little more glide in the wind. But that's what we're going to see, just how these 3 discs with similar numbers do actually fly pretty differently. They turn in different ways and they fade in different ways, so we're just going to take a look at the angles and see what you might like.
Yeah, and I've never thrown these discs before, so I'm interested to see exactly what they are, what they do. Let's go into it.
The profiles on here, I feel like the Matrix is kind of the flattest and shallowest, even though the dimensions are very similar. It does feel a little shallower in the hand. The Vector, which is second here, is definitely a little bit wider than the other discs, and for me a bit domier, so it kind of fills my hand a little more. And then the Reactor is sort of right in the middle. It's got a flat, low profile, but it does have more of a lip than the Matrix does. So we've got the Matrix and the Vector in Electron plastic. This is their baseline plastic, usually used for putters and stuff. I really like it for approaches though. I swear it gets tackier the wetter it gets, so it's great in the rain. And then the Reactor has come out in Neutron plastic, which is the higher end plastic, opaque, not the clear proton. Which I feel in most discs is going to give it some extra stability, and I feel like a little extra glide, especially when there's a bit of headwind, it really holds up well. Alright, starting off with the Electron Matrix, bit of a tailwind, pretty much what I expected. Had a nice little turn to it, but still kind of stayed straight down the line. Electron Vector, this will probably be a bit more stable, has a little higher profile, fits in the hand a little more fully, I feel like. Just about the same distance there. Then we're going to throw the Neutron Reactor. This isn't available yet in Electron plastic, but I still think it'll be a pretty accurate comparison.
Yeah. All right, got the Electron Matrix flat release. What I liked about the Matrix was that it flew dead straight, did not deviate from the flight path, and very reliably straight still too. We had a little bit of wind out here and it didn't deviate at all. Maybe puffed it up a bit, but still straight. The Vector, when thrown flat, just held that line straight the entire way. I think that it maybe fought the wind a little bit better than the Matrix, so that's what I noticed. On a little tiny bit of an Anhyzer, seemed to do a nice real big flex before coming back to me. Liked it a lot, went right to the spot that I was aiming at. I'd say the Reactor seemed to be a little bit more overstable than the other two. I would say in order of stability, you have the Reactor, the Vector, and then the Matrix. So that's my thought on stability, highest to lowest.
So now I'm going to throw all 3 of these on a bit of a Hyzer as if I'm trying to stick it right next to the basket so you can see how they ride the wind on a Hyzer angle. I'm going to try to put it right in front of KB. So I was off my mark a little bit obviously, but you can see that even that disc that has a really straight flight when released flat held a really nice Hyzer, hit the ground and stuck just like you'd want to on an approach disc. Now I'm going to throw the Vector. I'm going to try to put it even further out to the right, get a little closer to our target out there. And I expect this, usually for me, this is the most stable. It's kind of a toss-up between the two, but I usually depend on the Vector for a nice Hyzer. That's exactly what I wanted to do, just park it right in there, have it stop on the hill, and you can see I put that out a pretty good distance right, and we had some wind. It held it really nicely. I'm going to try to do the same thing with this Reactor. I think I probably have to release it with a little more Hyzer because I think it's going to pop up a little bit, but we'll see. Okay. Yeah, so that one I did put a little more Hyzer on it and got a little more left. I feel like that Neutron plastic is a bit glidier than the Electron for sure, so it kind of stayed up there in the wind a little better. But yeah, all three of these discs are a great mid-range choice. It really just comes down to how it feels in your hand and what plastic you like, because they're all very accurate and they can all do slightly different things depending on the line. I bag all three.
So when I released the Matrix on an Anhyzer, it held that real nice wide Anhyzer line, did not deviate, didn't come back at the end, just perfectly on the line. So when I released the Vector on an Anhyzer release, it did start to fight out of it there at the end, kind of straighten out. I think it shows the stability in the disc that you couldn't see otherwise. Definitely, if you're looking for an Anhyzer shot that kind of like comes back towards the end, might be a good one to choose. So when I released the Reactor on an Anhyzer line, it did flex out and then start to come back probably about halfway through the flight. Really just started to even out and come back. Definitely the most overstable of the three, I feel. I thought it was great for Anhyzer still. It just sort of comes back there at the end.
So that's how we threw the MVP Reactor, Vector, and Matrix, all of these straight mid-range discs, and I think you'll see that there was some pretty different flight characteristics depending on the angles you're throwing them at.
Yeah, definitely. I felt that in stability range, lightest stability, medium stability, most stability in that lineup there. I don't know, did you feel the same way?
I'm kind of on the fence. I feel like they're all similarly stable, just in different ways. The Matrix is going to flip more and maybe come back to straight, whereas I use the Vector more for Hyzers, and then the Reactor is kind of flexy. So they all come back a little bit, but just in different ways and at different points in the flight. So I bag all three because I kind of use them for the like Anhyzer, straight to stable, and then flex shots. And I think the biggest difference is kind of how they feel, and you could see that in the profiles that we did. They all have a little bit different feel, a little bit of different rim, and just a matter of choice, but you can't really go wrong with any of them in my opinion.
I think they all held up pretty good in the wind that we have out here today, which will have gusts of, 10.
Yeah,
miles
there
per
was some
hour,
tailwind and some headwind mixed, so you'll see them flop up and down, but nothing really fell out of the sky.
Yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for our review of the MVP mid-range discs. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. We always love hearing from you. Remember to like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and share it. We always appreciate it whenever you do that. So.
Definitely.
All right, so until next week, guys,
Keep banging those chains.